we gain certain wisdom as we grow, mostly from the mistakes that we make. We learn not to do those things again, hopefully. And one of the things that I think we learn as we grow is that there are certain questions you just don't ask. How old are you? How much do you weigh? And one of them, I think, that all of us know is, how much money do you make a year? These are questions you just don't ask because they make people uncomfortable. Our annual salaries are personal information that we do not like to give out. It is very uncomfortable to be asked by someone that question, so we know not to ask it of other people. Most people do not want to tell others what they make every year. Why? Why is that such taboo information? Why is our annual salary such a closely guarded secret? I think it is because what our society teaches us, mistakenly, is that a person's worth and their value and their success in life is tied to that number. And the people who will gladly volunteer information about salary do so because they are under the delusion that that number reflects their success and wealth in the world. We can say we know that that's not true. We can say it's just a number. But the fact is, we are taught in subtle and not so subtle ways that our power, our success, and our value is tied to money and position. What success and greatness are considered in our world are profoundly screwed up and completely backwards. And this is not a new problem. This is not something we have suddenly come upon in the past few hundred years. This is exactly what Jesus is trying to teach about 2,000 years ago. Jesus was trying to help the people understand what true greatness is. That it has nothing to do with power or position. You see, the problem that the people of Jesus' time, and even in our own time, deal with is power in the ego. When we do things to obtain power and authority and prestige in order to serve ourselves first. When we do that, we separate ourselves from other people. We place ourselves over them. And that is what Jesus is condemning today. He sees people looking for honor, looking to be noticed. He sees people quite literally stepping over other people to get to the front. At the time when you would host a banquet or a feast, where you sat determined how important you were. If you were farthest away from the host, you were of least importance. So this person was literally stepping over other people to get to the place of honor. I'll give you a timely example. Entertainment, music, politics. All seem to be exercises in moving yourself to the seat of honor so that everyone sees you and everyone notices you. The idea of serving the common good, the poor, and the most abandoned seems to have very little place in these pursuits. Now, I'm not judging the hearts of those who are in these professions. Some actors and musicians and politicians actually do give back a great deal for the greater good, but not many. Can we truly say that many are seeking to help the least among us, to serve the needs of all? We see offices of government and fame and accolades and entertainment being sought more as a prize to exalt and lift themselves over others. Laurels to rest on, power to rest in, rather than an opportunity to help those who have less. Now, leadership is not what Jesus condemns. We need leaders. We need true greatness. It's the desire and the search for power that Jesus is teaching against. See, what happens is that power seduces. Power intoxicates. It separates us from other people. It is this ongoing confusion we have between power and greatness. Now, according to Jesus, one has nothing to do with the other. And they're very hard to have at the same time. Power lifts us up. Power puts us in front. It gives us control. Economic power, political power, social power. Greatness is different. Greatness, rather than taking us away from people and placing us over them, brings us to them. It puts us on an eye level with them. Greatness often puts us last so that we can see other people. Greatness, according to Jesus, the gospel, is to forget about yourself. The what's in it for me. The how do I benefit. The how do I stand out. Greatness will often put you last in the world's eyes. Now, we can talk about the power that politicians have, and entertainers have, and musicians have. There's also power here. Every one of us has power of one form or another. Power is not simply in D.C. or Albany or Hollywood. Power exists in middle school and high school hallways and cafeterias. Power exists in staff meetings and church council meetings. Power exists in our marriages and relationships. Power exists in the privilege you and I have as educated, middle and upper class suburbanites. See, we all have power. And what Jesus is talking about today is not to those who have clear power, but to all of us. Because we all got it in some form or another. Let's talk about school. There is power in the students who go to middle school and high school. Not teachers and principals and counselors. Students have power. Popularity is power. Social status, being part of the cool group, that is power. Being the high school star athlete, well-known, well-liked, invited to parties. That is a form of power. Let's talk about our jobs. We have power where we work. Doesn't mean that you're a leader or in an official leadership position. But you may hold position at your job. You may be well-liked. You may have what is called unofficial power because you're nice, or you've been there for a long time, or you do your job particularly well. There are groups at work that come together, that eat lunch together, that socialize after work. Becoming part of that group or being excluded from it is about power. Using power and position to exclude or include. You have that power. And as a Christian, you are called to use that power to welcome. To welcome the unwelcome, the unpopular, the new, and yes, the not so nice. The ones that are not so easy to spend time with. Let's talk about our marriages, our relationships. If we are honest in marriage and in most other significant relationships, there is a constant balancing of power, even in healthy marriages. It's usually around how we do things. Whose house do we celebrate holidays at? Where and when do we go on vacation? How do we raise our kids? Where it damages a marriage is when the desire for power and position overshadows the other person. And when we leave the one we love behind in order to get what we want, in order to jockey for position and power in the marriage. Jesus' words today have relevance in our relationships. Do not seek places of honor. The struggle for power and position in these relationships can be seen when there is an argument. We resist saying we're sorry first, even if we thought they did it. They began it. It's when there's an issue in our marriage and we don't want to do the uncomfortable work of talking about it because it's not my issue, it's hers. or his? Why should I spend this emotional energy when it's not my problem? This is the desire for power and position. That is all power and pride working through us. Because guess what? It is your problem. Not addressing issues in marriage and relationships because you don't think it's your problem is like being on a boat in the middle of the ocean and the boat springs a leak. And you say, well, I'm not fixing that. It's on your side of the boat. Guess what? You're going to sink anyway. So deal with it. Marriage is about serving each other. In our marriages, in our relationship, do we look for places of honor and power over the other? Let's talk about privilege. The privilege that we have as a middle-class, suburban-dwelling, educated folk. Now that word privilege, it gets us. It's one of those words that we wrestle with. Privilege is a scary and misunderstood word. Privilege does not necessarily imply guilt or prejudice. Privilege just is. We ourselves personally didn't do anything to create it, but we enjoy it. We live in it. And we have to recognize it is because privilege is about power and opportunity. We have it. Power is about places of honor. We have them or we don't. Just like the guests who are trying to get to the place of honor at the banquet. We seek position as a student, as a co-worker, as a boss, as the privileged class. We have and we enjoy power. You see, privilege is about having easier access to opportunity than others do. Privilege is about not having to worry about the things or face the dangers that others do because of our economic status, because of our skin, because of our nationality. Now, privilege does not mean that we didn't work hard for what we have. It doesn't mean that we didn't work hard to make opportunities real. It doesn't mean that we have had anything handed to us freely. But we have our families who raised us, opportunities to learn and have our basic needs met, safety, food on the table, decent housing, freedom from economic and social oppression so that we could move forward. Not everyone has these things. Privileges like these are forms of power. And if we have power, what we are told by Jesus Christ today in the gospel, and I don't care what form that power takes, student, co-worker, husband, wife, we are challenged in the gospel today to look at that power and that greatness in a different way. True greatness is about using the power and opportunity we have to make other people's lives better, to lift others up, not to lift ourselves up over them. True greatness, as Jesus defines it, is the chance to lift other people's lives up with us. And to those who feel that you do not have power, those who are excluded, those who are harassed in hallways, in lunchrooms, in courtrooms, in hospital rooms, those who are rendered powerless because of age, or divorce, or sickness, or because of sexism, or stereotypes, or racism, or fear. For those who are humbled and feel that they do not have a voice, who feel like there's a stone in your throat and you just can't speak, you are seen. You are not forgotten. You are heard. The Spirit is especially close to you. The Spirit watches you with a special eye. And the Spirit has great and beautiful things in store for you. Make it through the pain. Make it through the loneliness. And God is there with what God promises you. And Jesus speaks to you today. To all of us. For all who exalt themselves will be humbled. And those who humble themselves will be exalted. Amen. Let it be so.